Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Soviet Russian Bear, and today I have a guest. His first time on my channel. He goes on YouTube by the name Red Fascists, and his name is Cody. He's from the United States. So, Cody, you're subscribed to the Strasserist ideology. So, could you please explain to me and to my audience what Strasserism is? It is a form of National Socialism, but it's different from Hitlerism and Nazism.
It's different from Hitlerism, as in it focuses largely on the socialist aspect rather than the nationalist aspect. It takes 50-50% on each one, and unlike the Hitlerists, which overestimate the nationalist part, and largely throws out the socialist part when they get the chance.
Yeah. Okay, but the socialist part, because many think that Nazism is a very right wing ideology, and it doesn't have a place for socialism. And Hitler actually abhorred communists, but still, and as far as I remember, Strasserites got purged during the Night of the Long Knives. So
They got purged because Gregor Strasser and Ernst Röhm tried to overthrow Hitler in an attempted revolution, which failed because they didn't have enough support. The reason for this was Hitler's mass privatization and selling out to the aristocracy.
well, basically, Hitlerism was more national capitalist than national socialist.
Their socialist aspects only came in after the attempted revolution to appease the socialists, to prevent other revolutions. And further, they never created. Uh, I don't believe they ever created a basic income. They never created syndicates. They never created communalized large department stores. They never did any of this. He banned labor unions and replaced it with a state-backed labor union. This is not socialism, I would say. This is a form of state capitalism, I would call it. This is similar to what China has today.
Yeah, and
In Strasserism, it would be different. There would be syndicates, there would be unions, that there would be under with the form of labor union, guild socialism is what you would call it. In France was guild socialism, in Portugal and Spain it was national syndicalism, whatever you want to call it. In America we call it trade unionism. It's where the workers literally, in the Marxist term, own the means of production, but the means of doing it are different in, I suppose, every socialist ideology. In this case, it was through the use of guilds, syndicates, and labor unions.
yeah, and as far as I remember, the Strasserites and Strasser brothers were against the war on the Soviet Union, and basically they advocated a rapprochement with the with Stalin's Soviet Union, correct?
Yes, correct.
And
The thing with the war against the Soviet Union is things were complicated at the time where Stalin was when it was expanding, Hitler was expanding. There, there was definitely going to be a confrontation. It was just a matter of who was going to attack who first. Stalin was getting paranoid of Hitler's aggressive actions. That's why he put troops on the border. This made Hitler paranoid that Stalin was preparing to attack him. So it's very complex situation. We'd probably never know. You have to go into the what was going on in the minds of both men at the time, and no one's going to know that because at the time, if you hear the stories of Stalin, the memoirs, he was not in his right mind at the time. Hitler definitely wasn't in his right mind at the time. You had two literally guys that were going loony on you, and it just turned into a war.
Yeah, okay.
Very sad war. A lot of Germans suffered. A lot of Russians suffered. First it was the Russians, then it was the Germans. Uh, mass rapes of Berlin, horrible thing. Terrible conditions in Russia. Russians had to go through a lot. Germans had to go through a lot, and neither nation really benefited from it.
Absolutely.
Well, the people did. Well, I would say the only people that really benefited from this may have been the Soviet government. Mainly, the main beneficiary of the war was more of the United States than anyone.
Absolutely. And the
Not
UK.
many of the Soviets really benefited from a lot. It took a huge toll on their economy. I mean, you had what was it, 40 something GDP lost during the war in the Soviet Union.
Yeah,
It was traumatic for the Soviet Union. I
absolutely.
mean, and it took a while for them to rebuild the economy afterward. And the United States just jumped up after post-war. They just went through this boom. So I think the only one that really benefited from it was the United States, and with all the power they gained afterwards, where the U.S. government, which was entirely, I would say, Jewish controlled, people would talk about the Soviet Union being, well, these Hitlerians talk about the Soviet Union being the main Jewish powerhouse during the war. That is not true. It was Great Britain and the United States, way
Yeah,
more than the Soviet Union.
yeah, absolutely. And you see, speaking of the Zionist power, well, Stalin became, especially after the war, Stalin became increasingly anti-Semitic.
Yes, I
And
mentioned that. You probably saw that in me and Veronica's video.
well, I knew it before, and
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
basically, and Stalin. Well, people also say that Stalin recognized Israel because he was Zionist controlled. Well, I also did some research, and I think that Stalin was actually under pressure of the U.S. and UK to recognize Israel.
you had a lot of diplomatic pressure at the time because
Yeah, a diplomatic pressure. Yeah,
the Cold War was just beginning, and you had to be careful not to start a war, not to start a nuclear war.
yeah. Absolutely, and basically, I don't remember. Maybe in 1950 something, the Soviet Union actually revoked its recognition of Israel. I don't remember which year exactly.
In what year?
1953 or something, or 1956.
That was because, yes, they probably did that because of the mass expansion. The what was it called? The quota or the treaty? The plan originally they broke. They expanded in which they were never supposed to expand. They were supposed to stay in their designated areas that they were allowed to settle, and they just went around and settled them. And the U.S. just allowed them to do this. The U.S. and Great Britain. The Soviet Union was the only one to
The only one to do what?
they were the only one to oppose them on this,
To oppose them on what? On expansion?
on the expansion of displacing the Palestinian people.
The well, yeah, and right now they're still expanding. Expanding the Israel expanding settlements.
At this point, there's really not too much to expand left. They've almost taken the entire country. I mean, all you really have is Gaza and parts of the West Bank left. I mean, the ethnic cleansing is almost complete. I don't. I mean, there's how I don't know. I'm sure of the numbers of how many Palestinians have been killed, but there's been a lot of refugees. I hate to say this for many of the people, but I think it's a little too late. Might be to save the Palestinian homeland. It's a sad thing.
Well, yeah, basically Israel is Israel has this backing of the United States, and basically he does or it does everything with impunity.
Israel, you can never oppose Israel in the United States. It's pretty much a crime. Well, not exactly an actual legal crime, but it's a thought crime.
Well, given of how powerful the Israeli lobby is,
The APAC is very powerful, highly powerful.
yeah, and that the and also, but I think the Israeli lobby is even more powerful than the Saudi lobby, and just well, the Saudis and Israelis, they have a lot of common interests,
Yes, they do.
like destabilizing Syria and destabilizing Iraq and topple Assad.
Yes. I believe Saudi Arabia is beginning economic colonization of the United States now.
What makes you think so?
Beginning to buy a lot of stocks in major corporations within the U.S. This has me very concerned because isn't Saudi Arabia supposed to be our ally? They don't appear like an ally to me.
Well,
They're linked they're linked to 9/11 and everything else. I don't think they're exactly an ally.
yeah,
They're
but
supposedly, or perhaps the U.S. government are just traitors.
yeah, what boggles my mind is that the Saudi Arabia is very conservative and very religious countries. It has zero human rights, zero.
Well, yeah. They're kind of a very weird country where they do not have they actually not a theocracy. They just have this official religion, and they're governed by this religion, Sunni Islam.
Well, yeah, well, it's more like Wahhabism, the most like radical
I've,
branch of Sunni.
yes, I've heard this comparison. They have been caught funding ISIS and other terrorists before. I'm no expert on Saudi Arabia, but they're pretty dangerous from what I've read about them.
Yeah, well, the Saudi Arabia, it is the key supplier of oil, and they manipulate the oil prices, and Saudi Arabia, they increase the oil production, and the price of oil has tumbled, and that hurt Russia much. But the question is, can someday the so-called Arab Spring come to Saudi Arabia?
Arab Spring
Yeah, the
wouldn't be.
revolution.
I think it might have went there already a lot years ago.
Well, because there is there is this Shia opposition in Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is waging war on Yemen, and a lot of their war crimes just stay unreported, and Saudi Arabia is basically committing genocide. I've seen videos, and but what can you tell me? Okay, enough about Saudi Arabia. So, what can you say about Syria? Because Syria is still a main issue right now, and
Yep.
Syria is well, it's absolutely. I'm absolutely certain that Assad will survive. But will Syria remain the same country? Will it preserve its territorial integrity? I don't know, because the Kurds, they want autonomy. They want their state.
I would say that Syria is a mess, and what happens is Syria's. I would say this relies on the actions of Russia and Putin. Generally, he has to start getting more aggressive in Syria. The problem is this is a risky move, is he can't predict the actions of the United States, so he's kind of stuck in this very situation, this weird situation. Like, well, if he doesn't get more aggressive, the Assad regime may fall, and Syria may fall under U.S. influence. If he does act, he may find himself on the brink of World War III, so he doesn't really know what to do at this point, is what I think is going through his mind. That's just my analysis of what's going through his mind.
Yeah,
So his idea is just to hold off the forces until some miracle happens. Maybe they'll give up. I don't know. Maybe he's hoping for some political change within the U.S. government. Who knows? Maybe he's hoping for Iran to get involved more openly. Who knows?
yeah, and
Syria's it's going to remain a stalemate for a long time until someone gets the advantage.
yeah, until someone, grows some more balls and just and takes action. Okay, so what can you say about the election in France? Macron won.
Predicted, most likely rigged.
Well, yeah,
I don't trust the French election process. I don't trust the German election process.
but what about the U.S. election? Because Trump got elected, and well, speaking
Uh,
of Trump, what I want to say to ask you as a citizens of the United States, so what do you think about Trump?
I think he was doomed from the start because the problem with most of the alt-righters and most of the white nationalists who were supporting him, they forget that Trump was running for president. He was not running for dictator. They thought he was going to come in there and be like a Putin, right? But Putin is not in charge of a democratic country.
Well,
He
basic.
doesn't have the same kind of it doesn't have the same kind of political process as the United States. I'm not exactly sure of the political system of Russia, but I do not think it's anything like the United States.
Well, yeah, it actually isn't because we don't have a electoral college. We people just vote. Uh,
Right. I thought he had more. Doesn't he have like more power than the president of the United States does? Which I don't have a problem with this.
well, he certainly does, but he certainly doesn't have much power as say Stalin or other dictator.
I don't think he's quite a dictator, but he's certainly the system in Russia seems to work much better than the system in the United States, where
Well,
Trump can't do anything. He can't do anything because the Republican Congress, will not let him do anything.
yeah,
So
but
people say, "Oh,
still,
Trump is betraying people. He's
I have to say
betraying."
that Russian system is a little bit more authoritarian than the United States. But still, if it works, it works. If it works, why we should? If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Oh yes, it's not broken.
Yeah, yeah. So, and what can you say about Canada? Because you see, I interviewed a Canadian guy, a Canadian Serbian guy, that he says that Justin Trudeau is a complete clown and virtue signaler.
Canada.
Yeah,
That is what liberals in the United States want what they want America to be. They want this like I don't know. It's very weird. They want this like I don't know if I would call it authoritarian liberalism. That's kind of a contradiction. But it's this like they're authoritarian on some subjects, and then they believe in this like free for all on other things. So like they want this large anyone who opposes them, which they oppose them because they're fucking idiots. But they want anyone who opposes them to throw them in prison, charge them, um, give them fines and stuff like that. Because the Canadian government is very, very harsh on people. I mean, you are not in the government pretty much owns you in Canada. No one wants to live there.
yeah, and you see, some people perceive Canada as socialist, but no, it's not socialist. It's liberal. I mean,
It's social democracy, which is
yeah,
not socialism.
yeah, but see. people still perceive like communism. Well, I mean, people in the West, especially in the United States, still perceive this like communism equals social liberalism and social justice warrior shit.
Oh yes, oh yes. A lot of that is due to how the communists behave in the West. Western communists are entire jokes. I mean, the majority of them are Trotskyists or Ancoms. Because what happened, I believe, is when Stalin did the Trotskyist purges, right? You know where they all went, right?
Yeah.
To the United States. So what I like to put it is we got all of Russia's filth. Everyone, all the scum that left Russia came to the U.S. and Great Britain because Russia didn't want them. Well, we don't want them either because nobody wants them.
Yeah.
Nobody wants them. We can
Yeah.
send them to China.
And
They can go.
Stalin basically, well, he was more nationalist. I mean, no, I didn't just ripping it off from your video, but well, Stalin, maybe he was not exactly nationalist, but he was the one who tried to build his own version of socialism, socialism in one country, as he
Mm-hmm.
called it. And
I would view him as a realist instead of an idealist because his policies seem to be more based on what he thought was right at the time. Actually, Putin reminds me a lot of Stalin
well,
in some aspects, except Putin's not a socialist. Well, he doesn't appear to be a socialist, really. He's
well,
definitely. I would say he might be a Duganist, though.
well, I am also a little bit of a Duginist, especially on the geopolitical issue, and basically I believe this in this war of continents, like the Russia, China, and Eurasian powers are land powers, and the USA, UK, and Israel are sea powers. Eurasianism versus Atlanticism, tellurocracy versus thalassocracy, sea versus land.
Yes, and the multipolar world, the world island, all this stuff.
Yeah,
This new geopolitical thought he has,
yeah.
which is interesting because when you're a Duganist in the United States, it doesn't really work too well.
Well, I believe multipolar world. Well, it's gonna be awesome. I mean, we've had enough of the unipolar world, and I see the United States is failing at ruling at dominating the world.
Well, it's really just yeah. The U.S. is really just it's really just a tool for the global liberals, the global liberal hegemony, as Dugan would put it.
Yeah,
Right. The U.S. is really a tool that the global elite use to exercise their agenda. It's not really the United States or America itself, but it's just they just funnel their ideology through the United States. For some reason we have become the chosen nation to funnel it from. I guess it was just convenient at the time they chose us.
yeah, and so so what can you say about Russia trying to expand its sphere of influence? I absolutely have nothing. I think it's nothing wrong, and Russia during the late 80s and the 1990s has lost a lot of its sphere of influence, and I think it's absolutely nothing wrong that Putin is trying to regain some of it.
This is my basic view of Russia trying to expand their influence. If they had historical influence with these countries, right, which I think a lot of them did, right? For instance, Central Asia, like Kazakhstan, right? That
Yeah,
was traditionally ruled by the Russian Empire. So I have no problem with that. Nations in Eastern Europe, Slavic nations, I think they have every right to expand their influence into Slavic nations
yeah,
because the Slavs, like the Poles, the Serbians, the Belarusians, right? Even the Baltics might be able to identify with the Russians more. Well, the Baltics might be a wild card, but definitely the Ukrainians, the Belarusians, the former Yugoslavia, it might even be the Bulgarians. You might be able to identify more. Um, Iran has traditionally been friendly to Russia. Even during the Russian Empire, it was a sphere of influence of the Russian Empire.
Yeah,
Well, it was taken from there was kind of correlation between them and the British Empire there, but you get the point of what I'm saying.
yeah,
So if the area is near Russia, and if they had a historical presence there, or if there is a racial correlation there, there's no problem with them. For instance, the Caucasus and Turkey and Syria, that's right near their border. However, in the United States, here's where I draw the line. If they try, Russia should not be influencing the nations of South America because that I think that would go against the concept of a multipolar world.
yeah,
You'd have the Americas be United States influence, and that area over there as Russian influence, and let's just say Western Europe as German influence, and so on. I
yeah,
think that's a fair share of global power.
yeah. But you see, the South America countries like Cuba and Venezuela. I mean, but still, they may sympathize with Russia, don't you think?
Yeah, yes, I know. Yes, I know. That's a major problem. There's a major problem in South America. First of all, the U.S. government has not done a good job at making friends with those nations. It's mainly due to that they only want those nations for their resources, for the resources. The American capitalists, they don't want to help these nations in the South America. They just want to exploit them. If I had my way, we would have them as a safeguard to safeguard our own backyard as spheres of influence of our own, instead of just exploiting them. This would require the abolition of capitalism within the United States. That would fix the problem with South America, I believe.
Yeah, okay. And the Middle East is a mess. Is a huge mess.
Oh boy. You're gonna go there. We could talk all day about the Middle East.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Because you see, Middle East is actually it is actually Middle East is the powder keg right now.
Oh yes. Syria's a mess. Iraq's a mess. Lebanon is I don't even know. Israel, of course, is always trying to start a war. Saudi Arabia is constantly trying to start trouble. Yemen's a mess. Iran is
Well, it's not a mess, but you see, Iraq is a mess, Afghanistan is a mess, and Iran, well, it might suffer like the side effect.
Iran is stable, very stable,
Yeah,
but it's under constant threat by Israeli forces. Under constant threat,
yeah.
all the
Well, I think Iraq is gonna be under Iranian influence. Well, it is kinda, but I think the all of Iraq is gonna be like under Iranian influence. Maybe after ISIS is completely defeated.
oh yeah, Saddam Hussein would love that.
Well, speaking of Saddam Hussein, he was supported by the West during the Iran-Iraq War, and he was pretty much the darling of the West. And there is actually proof that it's the West who supplied the chemical weapons to Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, they started hating him when they realized he wasn't going to be their little puppet.
Yeah, because
Uh,
because because he tried to trade oil for euros, not for dollars.
that really happened after the Gulf War, I believe.
Yeah,
Yes. Prior to the Gulf War, when the U.S. turned on him, is when he showed he was more interested in. He was more. His policies were more geared toward the interests of Arabs, hence Pan-Arabism, than the interests of the West, and they did not like that.
yeah, and Saddam Hussein was actually, maybe he was the no, the last was Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi was the last, this Arab nationalist and pan-Arabist leader.
I thought Assad would be grouped in that category, though.
Well, yeah, Assad can be, but I think Gaddafi, he was way more, you know,
Radical.
more radical, and he had way more support.
Yeah. Libya. Libya was a complete. That was a complete. How should I put this? What I'm looking for. It's basically proven that the U.S. government toppled the regime. There was no real revolution there. That was a pure colored revolution. Pure colored revolution. That was fake. So fake.
Like fake folk.
Everyone, even a complete 80 IQ man could see that was fake.
Yeah, but some people still believe the mainstream media and believe the bullshit they tells about Gaddafi.
They're morons that don't read anything or not and are not informed.
Well, I get my information, especially on the Middle East, from people like Syrian partisan girl. Maybe you've heard of her, no?
Yes, I believe I follow her on Twitter.
Yeah, and another guy, he's American but lives in Japan, Ryan Dawson.
Hmm. All right.
Yeah, I basically all I know about the Jewish and Zionist lobby in the Middle East and the Israeli agenda in the Middle East is basically comes my knowledge comes from him and his videos. Well, anti-neocon. Well, speaking of neocons, why does Donald Trump has so many? Basically, there are many neocons in Donald Trump's surroundings.
There are many.
Well, at least I can name one. Like, well, Jared Kushner, and he's a Zionist.
Why are there so many neocons? There's always first of all, the Republican Party is full of neoconservatives. So when he's appointing people, he's gonna find neoconservatives, especially in the party. The party itself is forcing the neoconservatives into his administration.
Well, John McCain, the most prominent and the most Russophobic probably is John
Oh,
McCain and Lindsey Graham.
John McCain.
Fuck.
Dude's a total war hawk. That's all I need to say about him.
This guy,
Dude wants to go to war with Russia, go to war. You have issues with Iran, North Korea, oh, Cuba, oh, Venezuela. Oh, what else? It's Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. I don't know. I can. I can. There's probably bunch of others he has problems with. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a problem with Burma. Well, my,
well, and what can you say about Donald Trump's moves against North Korea? I mean, North Korea hasn't
stupid.
done anything to, I mean, yeah, it runs nuclear tests, but still, it runs missile tests, but it hasn't done anything to South Korea, to Japan, and I'm not even talking about the United States.
A stupid move just to flex his muscles, and it's ridiculous.
Well, of course, I knew from the start that nothing's gonna happen. I mean,
A stupid move just to show how tough he is. That's all that's about. He's not gonna do anything. He's just gonna say some stupid shit. Kim Jong Un is gonna say some stupid shit,
Yeah.
and they're just gonna. And in a few weeks or so, it's all gonna calm down. They're not gonna do anything. That's essentially what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So, but what what can you what is your take on Australia? I mean, Australia is. I know people from Australia. It seems like a nice country with nice people, with pro-Russian people. I mean, I know some Australians who are pro-Russian.
I actually don't know too much about Australia, other than they've kept the Germanic adventurous spirit that I like. They have this very uh, adventurous spirit that for some reason the British have lost and the Canadians have lost. The Americans have it somewhat, but we're losing it too.
And Australia still keeps it.
Yeah, Australia still, yeah, they have this thing where they like to go out and explore. They like to innovate. They like to discover. Yes, America used to have this. We no longer have this. Now we're more into individualism and making as much money as possible. It's the same thing as Britain and Canada, essentially. We're only interested
So
in money.
that's probably why I see many pro-Russian people from Australia online.
Might be, yes. They're not interested in money. Only interested in adventuring.
Yeah. So you see, the Western media hysteria against Russia is still off the charts. I mean, Trump is under threat of impeachment because of his alleged connections with Russia. So what do you think? What can you say? Will Donald Trump be impeached, or will he not?
No, there's no evidence to do it.
Yeah, but the
I'm
media,
pretty
man,
sure.
the media
I'm
just pumping out this, the media just the hysteria is growing. Just the
I'm
hist.
pretty sure I know. I'm pretty sure I have more connections with Russians than he does. I'm positive about it.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
sure I know more Russians than he does. You can be counted in that group.
Yeah,
Doesn't know any Russians. Why would he need to know Russians? Well, he might. He is a businessman, so he might have built something in Moscow, so he might know some Russians. He might be familiar with the like zoning laws in Moscow and stuff like that. So, but it's just business. I don't think he has any actually real political connections to the Kremlin.
yeah.
The legend of the Russian hackers, as I call it. And
Russian
that
hackers. You see, Russian hackers have become a meme.
I know because it's so ridiculous. People joke now they blame Russian hackers for all their problems. I failed my math test. It's the Russian hackers that hacked my computer.
Okay, so so did Antifa or social justice warriors? So what can you say about Antifa and social justice? I mean, just Antifa in the West, because you see, I can see Antifa is using the symbolics and the mascots and the flags of Antifa in the 40s, who were in Nazi Germany and opposing Hitler. But all I can see among the Western Antifa is mainly Trotskyites and anarchists.
Antifa, first of all, a lot of them don't even understand the ideology they've adopted. All they are is a bunch of angry and confused individuals that don't know how to, don't really understand, that are leaderless. They don't really know where to point their anger, and the easiest target is a bunch of nationalists and national socialists,
Yeah,
and they're the wrong way.
Yeah, and
That's all I can say about Antifa. They're a bunch of sad, angry, confused individuals.
they probably don't know what Trotskyism is or anarchism.
Oh my god. Well, so some of them do, but it's not. I don't think they have a good understanding of it. The only thing they all have in common is they're all angry.
And probably they're all snowflakes and easily triggered by by.
Oh, they are. Yes. The thing is that the thing is that many people don't like to admit this, but there's actually a sharp difference between Antifa and your SJWs on Twitter. They're a lot different.
Yeah, but you see, SJWs they basically
A lot of those are liberal. A lot of those are liberal college students.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. They're basically a bunch of kids, easily triggered kids who don't have any experience in life, in real life. They just they hide in their safe spaces, and they're hiding from reality because maybe
Yeah.
reality is too harsh for those poor special little snowflakes.
The problem is they grew up being babied. That's the problem. People are babied from the time they're in school, saying, "Oh no, don't let you hurt someone's feelings if you say that." I say, "Fuck your feelings."
Absolutely, absolutely.
Fuck your feelings. That's the problem. It's how it's their upbringing is the problem. Is they're told all the wrong things. They're not taught. They're not taught the realities of life. They're taught, oh, report someone if you are being bullied. Oh, tell an adult. Oh, don't say that to this person, right? You might hurt their feelings. Oh, don't allow your feelings get hurt. I mean, I grew up around in the American education system. What they did, I mean, it's retarded.
Well,
It
yeah,
just all it just all sounded goofy to me.
yeah, and people actually say that social justice warriors are Marxist, but the cultural Marxism, which was which was in the Frankfurt School of Marxism, it actually has little to nothing to do with the Marxism Lenin with Marxism Lenin advocated for, or it has a little to do with it, but well, if Lenin listened to social justice warriors of modern age of 21st.
This is the basic. This is the basic cultural Marxism coming out of the Frankfurt School that they're talking about. First of all, most of them probably never even read anything from the Frankfurt School. People accusing SJWs of that, and this is the basic understanding. This is the basics of cultural Marxism out of the Frankfurt School. Cultural Marxism is essentially trying to understand class conflict in a much different light than Marx, Engels, and Lenin described it. So um, uh, instead of just saying proletariat versus the bourgeoisie, they would say, so who is the proletariat and who is the bourgeoisie? So they said class is defined by social status, and social status is defined by religion, race, gender, and ethnicity. I think they would say it. Other things too, sexuality. I believe they said.
Yeah,
So they grouped certain. So they said like women were oppressed. It's the concept of oppressed classes that they grouped this in. It wasn't even at this point about class conflict. It wasn't even at this point. It was just dividing people by their sexuality, their race,
their
oh
gender.
their everything else. I mean, I don't think this is whatever. This isn't really what Marx and Engels were talking about.
Yeah, and it really
It's very
wasn't was.
stupid. I think they should probably just. I don't know. They probably just threw the term Marxism on it to make it more popular, or they were actively disputing, saying that Marx was wrong, and it's all retarded. entire concept of cultural Marxism. I mean, I read everything that came out of Frankfurt School. It's stupid. It's easily refuted. Problem is, these SJWs probably never even read anything out of the Frankfurt School.
And they never read Marx and they never read Lenin.
Nope. I doubt they've even read the Communist Manifesto. I doubt they even can name the first sentence in it.
Yeah. And Das Kapital or something like.
Das Kapital is that's very complex. You have to read the Communist
Yeah,
Manifesto before you read that because that gets very complex.
yeah.
I I don't know. I don't. I'm not really that fascinated with Das Kapital and
Communist
Communist Manifesto.
Manifesto.
I'm not that fascinated with it because I think I can easily prove that I can easily disprove them. I've done critiques of Marx before, and I can disprove some of his theories.
Okay, so but you made this, video with Veronica with Evalion, and it was basically a good, hilarious 1 minute video. But still, there are people who actually take this at face value. They don't know it's a fucking joke.
Oh, you mean to talk about I married a communist
Yeah,
video?
yeah, yeah,
They are. Oh my god. These people call me autistic, but look at these idiots. They can't even see it's a joke. I'm
yeah.
like, you fucking retards. I'm joking. The whole thing is pretty much trolling you. The whole point of why we made that video was to troll these retards for accusing us of being a communist just because we said a few nice things about Lenin and the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Automatically makes us communists. Oh, so if I say I can turn that around on them. Well, you say good things about Gaddafi and Assad. So you guys must be Baathists. See the retardation here. They try to link it. I mean, this is so stupid, and they actually believe it. Like they fall for the crap. This just proves their mental retardation and the size of their IQ.
Yeah, well, but I think Baathism is actually for more Arabs, but Baathism is not basically for the West. It was
Yeah,
like Arab adaptation of socialism.
I was just giving a comparison of how retarded you can be.
Yeah,
That's essentially how retarded they're being.
yeah. And you see, some people call you a Russian, and but you are clearly not Russian. You don't even look Russian, for fuck's sake.
You don't know what a Russian looks like. Oh, I've heard a Russian. I've heard they said Jihad Valiant's Jihad boyfriend. I guess they say that because of my
Beard,
beard.
yeah. Jihad boyfriend. Hello, Akbar. Well, speaking of jihad and Allah Akbar, well, do you actually? Well, there are people, many people on the western right and on the right in the west. They are pathological, should I say, Islamophobes, and I know, many of them say that Islamophobia doesn't exist because no, I believe Islamophobia does exist, and round up all Muslims as terrorists or prone to terrorism is actually part of Islamophobia. Won't you agree? Or
The issue with Islamophobia is that they're opposing Islam as a whole, globally opposing Islam, not opposing the institution of Sharia law within the United States. If you were to say that Islam does not belong in the West, they would be correct. But don't oppose Muslims and Muslim Islamic nations just because you don't like the religion. I mean, leave those nations alone. So
well, yeah.
that's why I would draw the line, saying, yeah, if you don't want Muslims imposing Islam on the West, that you're in the right. If you're going around over to the Middle East and killing Muslims simply because you don't like Muslims, that's wrong. That's the way I look at it.
Well,
And
yeah.
some of them want to do that.
Well, uh, Well, but what are you gonna do with those Muslim people who were born in the West already? You're not.
What I mean by is Islam not in the West, I mean not forcing Islamic principles on Western
Well,
governments and in
yeah,
the
I
West.
absolutely agree with that.
Yes. Like Russia would not allow Islamic principles to be forced in the Kremlin. They would
Yeah,
keep it within Chechnya,
yeah, yeah,
which is majority Muslim,
yeah,
which is perfectly understandable.
yeah,
And the Chechnya and the Chechens probably agreed to that, to
yeah,
keep it within Chechnya.
yeah, absolutely. Well, some people are accusing like Putin of being like Islamopather and as a shield for Islam because he allows some Islamic rules in Chechnya because there is a polygamy in Chechnya. But fine, a polygamy is not how I roll. But as long as they keep it within Chechnya, I'm fine with it.
Oh my god, this is so stupid. Well, the reason he's friendly to Muslims is because Russia has a historical presence of Muslims in Russia.
Absolutely,
And the thing they forget is that no, Russia didn't. When they're talking about these Muslims, they have always been in that area.
yeah,
The Russian Empire conquered them. I just got into an argument with this guy who said Russia's a multicultural empire. Yeah, because the Tsar conquered all the surrounding areas. What do you want him to do? Drive those people from their native lands?
well, I'm sorry, people are confusing multiculturalism with multi-ethnicism and multiracialism. I mean, the culture is pretty much one. It's basically no. I don't say that. Yeah, there are other culture, but the dominant culture in Russia is Russian culture and the Russian language.
And the outer cultures are usually kept within their certain areas,
Yeah.
such as Czech. So I don't see the problem here. Oh, I got another conspiracy. Well, just the other day, I had an idiot tell me that Putin is allowing Turks to immigrate to Moscow, and Moscow is full of Turks now.
Turks.
Yes.
I
I
don't.
was like, dude, do I need to bring in a Russian to debunk this? And he says, how many Russians do you know? I'm like, probably more than you. I'm like, no, Russian. What in the world are you talking about? Of course, that was an Azov supporter.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy,
Well,
Azov.
basically, people like Sinead McCarthy, they basically make no difference between Russians and Jews, and she even said in one of her videos,
Gross.
many of Russians are Jews, basically. But what the fuck is she talking about? I mean, Russian Jewish population is less than a
Yeah.
million, like 2 and 500 million people are Jews in Russia, and Russia is 164 million people, but only
Oh yeah.
250,000 people in Russia are Jews, and according to
What she's accusing is the entire government to be run by Jews.
yeah, and she made a
Yeah,
video. She made
it's
a
ridiculous. Look at Putin. He's clearly not a Jew.
absolutely
He looks nothing like a Jew. I actually think he's a Finn, though.
Finn.
Yeah, I think he looks kind of Finnish because he's kind of short, and Slavs are usually tall.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think, I don't think he might have some Finnish blood, is what I'm thinking. That might get him. So I don't think he's a Jew, though. His nose is, first of all, his nose is just, he's not Jewish at all. His forehead is way too round.
yeah, and his ears aren't protruding.
No, they're not. And I've seen him with his and I've seen the pictures of him. He's got a well built body, and it's very muscular,
Yeah,
very broad. That's not a Jewish feature.
absolutely, absolutely. And you see, people just they show photos of Putin attending a synagogue or Putin meeting at the table with some Russian rabbis and say, "Oh, these photos are the proof that Putin is run by the Jews. He's a Jewish puppet." No, it's only proof of Russia has Jews too. Russia has Jewish minority. That's the only thing that these photos prove. But just some people are just, oh, he talked to Netanyahu.
He's also a world leader that needs to have diplomatic relations with everyone. It's called diplomacy, if they've ever heard of it.
Yeah,
It's called diplomacy.
but
So paranoid.
yeah, the only well, Russia doesn't supply billions of worth of weapons to Israel. It's the United States and some European countries.
Oh, people like Sinead, McCarthy, and Renegade Broadcasting are gonna push their shit because they know people like to hear it. This is all pretty much about viewing, and this is all pretty much about viewing. You might have yeah, it's pretty much all about viewers and stuff like this. They think people want to hear it, and in reality, it makes her look like a retard. But I don't think her and Kyle understand that.
Yeah.
Since Kyle in an since Kyle is an effeminate cuck for Sinead. Well, he's a vegan, so that causes infemininity. Because you can't get it. You can't. No, well, no, he eats a lot of tofu and he eats a lot of other stuff, and he doesn't get enough meat products, right? And so he doesn't get enough testosterone. So he is tradition. So he's actually more effeminate.
uh, but isn't
That's why he's a weak. That's why he's a weak little pussy that cries all the time.
but wasn't
You
Hitler?
saw the Beardson debate. He cried.
Yeah, but wasn't
Pathetic
Hitler?
faggot he is.
Yeah, but wasn't Hitler actually vegetarian?
He was a, yes, but he actually yes, but he was not a vegan.
Uh,
So he ate eggs. He loved eggs. Eggs have protein, right?
yeah,
He ate lots of stuff that have protein.
yeah,
He did not eat soy products. Kyle eats a lot of soy products, and that kills testosterone.
yeah,
That's what Hitler ate, protein products. That's why he wasn't.
yeah. So,
Of course, Sinead is probably going to watch this and say that, oh, it was created by Jews, right? And she cannot use she just uses that as a backup whenever she's refuted. You cannot accuse everything of being made up by Jews.
absolutely,
It's ridiculous. That's how you know she admits defeat. Is whenever she calls you a Jew, if she calls you a shill, whenever she says something's Jewish, she's admitted defeat because she's that pathetic because she can't argue with me
yeah,
or anyone else with a brain.
yeah, yeah. So, I interviewed a guy recently, a Christian reactionary. Um,
Oh yes, good guy.
yeah, so we both know him for a while, and he seems like a great guy to me. If only the United States had more like him.
Yes.
Yeah, basically. Well, anyway,
He's a big Russophile.
yeah, absolutely.
He's a big Russophile like me.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, and Evalion is also a Russophile.
Yes, she is a Russophile, but she's also Slavic, so that might have something to do with it. She's Polish, so yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's weird because she actually just found out she's Silesian German. So she's actually technically I think she's a Germanized Slav, to be honest.
yeah,
So she's like this Germanic Slav hybrid that you find commonly in East Germany and Western Poland. This type of phenotype
yeah,
that can identify with the Slavs or the Germanics because they have the genetics of both.
yeah,
I'm actually Bavarian, and we do have some like Czech DNA.
yeah,
There is some Slavic admixture. Not much in the Bavarians, but there is some.
yeah. Okay, so I hope you and Valen produce more videos, and I will of course be producing them too. So anyway, It's been a pleasure to have you on my channel. Yeah, I think it's time to wrap this up now. Maybe you have something to say as a closing word.
As a closing word,
Yeah,
yes, I will be coming out. I will be coming out with a video on Prussian socialism soon.
the
We're just waiting for Veronica's camera to arrive.
yeah,
That's all.
yeah. How does the Prussian socialism called the Jew the how does it called the use or something like that? No?
The what? Oh, the Prussian socialism. It's actually it's the philosophy of Oswald Spengler.
Oh, Spengler, the guy who wrote this the
You should like him. He was very pro-Russian.
I mean he wrote the Decay of Europe, or what is it called?
Decline of the
Decline
West.
of the West. Yeah.
Yes, he in turn thought the West was going to decline. He said in its place the Russians would rise. Yes, he predicted everything that Russia has become today.
Okay.
Very.
And I see Russia is becoming more and more powerful, and that's great because we have been losing power and influence for the last 2 decades, and now it's time to regain it.
Yeah, it only proves Spengler right. What he predicted.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So I think it's time to wrap this up now. Bye. I
Yeah.
hope to see you on my channel more.
Oh, we can make it happen.
Yeah, you're
Make it
clearly
happen.
a very interesting person to talk to.
All right, you too.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.